Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8 Second Gaming, and in today's video we are going to be talking about how to climb in Season 17. The rank changes have been throwing a lot of people off, they're not sure what to do, but don't worry, I've got you covered. And if you guys want more amazing videos like this where we show you how to climb and get better as an Apex player, then you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there we have top level coaches creating the best, most highly informative guides to make you the best player you can possibly be. We have legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, and much more. So click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, with that out of the way, let's hop straight into things. And I do want to make one thing very clear right off the bat. This is about the optimal way to climb. It's going to be more consistent, it's going to be less risk taking, but in the long run, it'll net you better results. So first things first, we have to talk about the early game because it's the first step in the game. When you guys are first in the dropship, what you want to do is immediately 180 and look at all the spots that the other teams are going. Once you kind of see where everyone's flying, where everyone's establishing themselves, look around to see if there's an empty POI that you can then drop to. It doesn't matter if it's behind the ship because you're not technically going to be landing late because no one else is going there. This is what I like to call a reaction drop, and this gets you a very consistent open POI at the start of the game. Fights off early drop can be super dice rolly. You are really hoping that your RNG is better than the other team's RNG, and if it's not, you just wasted an entire game. These are not worth taking ever with the kind of state that ranked is in right now. So do this, take the open POI and stop just banging your head against the wall. But now that you're on the ground, what is the next step? Well, that is to just loot up your POI. You have an entire spot to yourself and you need to get the loot to actually set yourself up to win the game. I see way too many people drop in a spot all alone, they loot about 20% of the POI and then they just run away. Not you, not here. Loot the entire POI, get everything that you need. Make sure that every nook and cranny has been swept clean. The way that you're going to be playing is a lot more defensive, a lot more passive, so you need the materials to be able to keep yourself going through that entire time. But do be careful when doing this because other teams can walk up on your POI, so you always want to be paying attention to what's going on around you so that you don't get just walked up on for free. If somebody does happen to push your POI, just regroup with your team, figure out the situation that you guys are in, maybe you can fight it, maybe you can't. If you have to leave, just leave. Again, early fights are super dice rolly. Maybe they're just running away from another team, maybe that team is chasing, they're going to third party immediately if you guys start fighting. Maybe there's just a completely different team on the edge that was hoping to avoid you, but now that you're fighting, they're going to come fight too. There's too many unknown variables that you do not want to play into, just avoid it. But now that's the early game covered, so let's transition into your mid game plan, and this is where you have to start actually setting yourself in positions to win the game. Right now you have the loot to do so, but you need the positioning. The most consistent way to climb is playing for zone. You want to have a control legend on your team if possible. Right now I highly recommend Caustic. You can figure out what the zone is going and set your team up for success. After that, it's really just getting your team to that position. Sometimes you might have a recon legend on your team, then you can scan the UAV, figure out where the other teams are, and plan the safest rotation. Other times you're not going to have that, so you have to be a little bit more situationally aware to what's going on around you. But just read the zone, make your way there. But now that you guys have made it to your building, you have to actually be able to hold it and show presence. Now this is actually a very common mistake for Apex players to make because they like to just lump everything into one common term. People seem to think that if you're holding a zone building, it's ratting. That's not the case. Ratting is if you were hiding in the building with shotguns pointed at the door waiting for somebody to walk in. That's ratting. But that's not how you actually properly climb. What you want to do is you want to show presence on the building. You want to say to other teams, we have this spot, don't come near us. And the way that you do that is essentially just by playing around the building and just showing teams that you're there, taking some shots at them, crouch spamming in windows. Even just running around to let teams see the movement that's in there is showing presence. Will this stop every single team from pushing you? Absolutely not. But that's why I really recommend having Caustic on this team because Caustic makes it really impossible to push a building if done properly. Watson is a really strong legend too, and she does also show some presence a lot better because her fences are very visible, but right now in the meta, I just think Caustic's a lot stronger. And hopefully with the amount of presence that you guys are showing, nobody's really going to push you, they're just going to set up in buildings around you, and now you guys have entered the late game. Late game is where things get really tricky because you have to do two things. You have to start securing yourself KP because you haven't been able to do it all game, and you have to win. Higher placements means higher LP. So the first thing in the end game steps is to identify where the final zone is going to be. You need to know that first off because you need to start to know if your team is going to have to move. If you need to move, you have to start to figure out which buildings are free, which spots are playable, where teams can see you, where teams can't see you, which team's using utility, which team is getting looked at by another team so they can't pressure you. There's a lot of things that you need to understand when moving, and that's really what the IGL's job is supposed to do because they need to call it where to move and when to move, but that's a whole whole different topic for a whole nother video. The second step is actually getting there. What things do you need to actually get to that new spot if you have to move at all? Do you need to use a Wraith Portal? Can you pop a Valkyrie ultimate? If you use a Catalyst wall, will that cover you enough? Can you just Bangalore smoke it? Figure out what you have on your team and use it to your advantage. But I will warn you guys, don't move too early if you don't have to. Some people jump the gun a little bit and they take a spot before it's actually really playable, and that leads to them losing because then they just get easily focused because they're the first ones that move. This is something that changes game to game, and I can't really exactly tell you when to move and when not to move because it's situational. But I will say, don't be afraid to make mistakes when you first start to do this. Try to play different spots, try to move at different times. Just build up that knowledge base in your head and then go from there. And the third thing you need to identify is your win condition. How do you actually seal this off? Is it forcing the other teams to fight so you can clean it up? Is it using a wombo combo like a crypto alt and a caustic alt? Do you have something that'll help you win? Do you not have something to help you win? Do you have grenades that you can spam? You need to understand your utility so you can figure out if it's going to help you win the game or not. Because if it's not going to help you, then you need to rely on your raw gun skill. But like I just previously mentioned, you can force other teams to fight and then third party it. So if you don't have the best gun skill, but you have a lot better positioning, you can win still based off of that. But this is all happening in the blink of an eye. Those 3 steps need to happen within a couple seconds. Because remember, you still need KP, so you need to start pressuring other teams so that they make mistakes. When other teams make mistakes, you can then capitalize off of it. And capitalizing off it here might just mean taking a new better spot because of something frees up, or even getting KP. There's a lot of different things that can happen in this stage of the game, and it gets very, very hectic, especially with more teams. But what separates a bad Apex player from a good Apex player is how they handle themselves in situations like this. And you guys watch GameLeap, so you're great Apex players. And once you've identified every single thing that I just mentioned, now you can start to put it all into motion. If you have to move, where are you moving? Can you pressure a team off it? Can you force a team that might be playing a spot that you want to play into another team? What utility do you have to use right now so you won't have it later? Do you need to use something that's a big ticket item like a Bangalore alt? Do you have ultimate accelerants? These are just huge checklists that you guys are going down and down and down every single game. But once you really get these down in your head and it starts becoming just muscle memory, you guys are going to see that you're closing out a lot of games with more victories. And right now, placement points are really what matters. You can lose out on some KP for more placement points, and it's going to help you a lot more in the long run. Remember, this is the most optimal way. It's more consistent. It's less risky, so it's going to be a lot better in the marathon, not the sprint. Now, I can also cover a little bit more of a riskier playstyle where you're playing edge and going for more kills, but that would be in a video all on its own. So let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see that. And if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Thank you guys all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming, and I will see you guys in the next one.